The year is not 2026. You aren't living in the 21st century. What if I told you that 300 years of human history were a complete and total fabrication? There's a shocking theory that claims a handful of powerful rulers literally invented 3 centuries just to control the timeline. We've been told it's a fringe conspiracy, but the supposed evidence might just make you wonder if we're actually living in the year 1729. The official story. Okay, let's back up. You know the story of our world, the one we learned in school. It's a huge, sweeping epic. It kicks off with the fall of massive empires like Rome, which supposedly plunged Europe into the Dark Ages. For centuries, progress just seemed to grind to a halt. Then, like a really slow sunrise, the Middle Ages arrived, bringing knights, castles, and the gradual rebuilding of society. That era eventually gave way to the brilliant light of the Renaissance, a rebirth of art, science, and thinking that pulled Europe out of its medieval funk and set the stage for our modern world. From there, history hits the fast-forward button. The Age of Exploration, the Scientific Revolution, the Enlightenment, a couple of world wars that redrew the map, and finally, the screen-filled age we think we're living in now. It's a neat, straight line. A story we all know. But what if that story is wrong? What if a massive chapter in the middle of the book was just empty pages? The crack in the foundation in 1991, a German historian and publisher named Heribert Illig dropped a bombshell of an idea. It's called the phantom time hypothesis, and it claims that a huge piece of the medieval period, specifically the 297 years between 614 and 911 AD, never actually happened. According to his hypothesis, those 3 centuries are a complete fabrication, a phantom time wedged into our calendar to push the dates forward. This isn't some tiny little correction. If Illig is right, our whole timeline is a lie. Historical figures we've studied could be fictional characters, and the current year is definitely not what it says on your phone. The implications are mind-boggling. It would mean that legendary rulers like Charlemagne, the so-called father of Europe, might be nothing more than a historical invention, like King Arthur. It would mean we're almost 300 years closer to the fall of the Roman Empire than we think. And most unnerving of all, if you subtract those 297 phantom years from today's date, you land somewhere in the early 18th century. The investigation, evidence and anomalies. So, what on earth could make someone doubt 3 whole centuries of history? The case for the phantom time hypothesis is built on a few key pillars of strange anomalies and nagging questions. First, the calendar discrepancy. This is what first got Illig digging. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII rolled out the Gregorian calendar, the one we all use. It was a fix for the old Julian calendar, which was a little too long and caused the seasons to drift out of sync by about 1 day every 128 years. To fix this, Pope Gregory ordered that 10 days be skipped to get the calendar back in line with the seasons. But here's the supposed anomaly. Illig's hypothesis argues that if you do the math all the way back to when the Julian calendar was created, the drift should have been 13 days, not 10. So where did the missing 3 days of drift go? Illig's answer is that the 3 centuries they represent never existed. The second pillar of evidence is what some call the Dark Ages silence. The period Illig claims was fate, from 614 to 911 AD, falls right in the middle of the early Middle Ages. Proponents of the theory point to what they see as a mysterious quietness in the historical and archaeological record for this specific time. They argue there's a suspicious lack of original written documents from this era, with most being copies made centuries later. They also claim that architectural styles, like Romanesque, seem to pop up in the 10th century looking a lot like much older Roman styles, as if almost no time had passed at all. To the theorists, this isn't just a quiet period, it's a hole in the story. An absence of evidence they see as evidence of absence. This brings us to the third, and maybe most important, question: why? Why would anyone go to all the trouble of faking 300 years? The theory points the finger at a power trio: the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, his close ally Pope Sylvester II, and maybe even the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. The alleged plot goes like this. Otto III wanted his reign to line up with the huge, momentous year 1000 AD, exactly 1000 years after the birth of Christ. To make that happen, the theory claims they just changed the date, pushing the calendar forward by 297 years. Then, to cover their tracks, they supposedly hired an army of scribes to forge documents, invent battles, and even create entire family trees to fill the brand new gap they had just created in the timeline. It's a conspiracy theory of incredible scale, painting powerful rulers as the architects of a lie that has lasted for over 1,000 years. If you think history is full of secrets that they don't want you to know, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. We're going deeper down rabbit holes like this every week. The counter-arguments now, it is absolutely critical to say that the overwhelming majority of mainstream historians and scientists completely dismiss the phantom time hypothesis. They call it pseudo-history and present several powerful counter-arguments they believe shut the case for good. First, back to that calendar math. Historians point out that the core premise of the theory is based on a major miscalculation. The goal of the 1582 calendar reform wasn't to realign it to the time of Julius Caesar, but to the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, which was when the Church established the rules for Easter. And if you calculate the drift from that starting point, the accumulated error is almost exactly 10 days. So, there were no missing 3 days. The math just doesn't work. Second, we have tree rings. Dendrochronology has allowed scientists to create continuous, unbroken timelines stretching back thousands of years. These natural records show a consistent passage of time right through the supposed phantom centuries, with number 300-year gap to be found. Third, there are the astronomical records. Ancient astronomers across the globe were meticulously recording what they saw in the sky. Observers in China during the Tang dynasty, which flourished right in the middle of these supposed phantom years, documented solar eclipses and appearances of Halley's Comet. These ancient observations line up perfectly with modern calculations of when those events should have happened. If 297 years were just inserted into the timeline, all of those astronomical calculations would be wildly off. They are not. Finally, the phantom time hypothesis is incredibly Eurocentric. While it obsesses over a supposed gap in European records, it totally ignores the rich, continuous, and well-documented histories of other civilizations. The Tang dynasty in China, the Islamic Golden Age spreading across the Middle East, and various kingdoms in India were all thriving during the so-called phantom years, and their extensive records show no sign of a 300-year blackout. The climax, what if? But, what if? Just for a minute, let's set the counter-evidence aside and really entertain the idea. What if the tree rings are misinterpreted? What if the conspiracy runs so deep that records from other cultures were manipulated, too? What if it's true? If we are living in the year 1729, our entire picture of the world shatters. Think about it. The United States wouldn't have declared independence in 1776. It would have happened in 1479, a time we associate with Leonardo da Vinci. The French Revolution of 1789 would have actually happened in 1492, the same year Columbus is said to have sailed the ocean blue. The First World War didn't begin in 1914. It began in 1617. The moon landing of 1969 becomes a 17th century achievement, taking place in 1672. Every event that shaped our world is violently ripped from its context and thrown into a different era. The technology we use, the governments we live under, the very ideas that define us, all of them would be centuries older than we realize. We wouldn't be children of the 21st century at all, but of the 18th, still living in the long shadow of the Enlightenment. It's a thought so disorienting it feels impossible. And yet, the questions the theory raises just won't go away. The open-ended conclusion: so, are we living a lie? Is nearly 3 centuries of our shared story a grand deception, cooked up by an emperor who wanted to rule at the turn of the millennium? Mainstream science says a firm, definitive no. The evidence from tree rings, ancient eclipses, and the unbroken histories of the rest of the world builds what seems to be an ironclad case for the timeline we know. But the anomalies the theory points to, the calendar questions and the strange, quiet patch in the European record, persist in the minds of some. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't always the solid, unchanging thing we think it is. It's a story, written and rewritten by people. And sometimes, the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are hardest to shake. Is our entire timeline a lie? Are we living in a history fabricated by emperors and popes? The evidence is there, what you believe is up to you. If you believe there's more to history than what we're told, subscribe and join us in uncovering the truth. Let us know in the comments what you think about the phantom time hypothesis. Have you noticed any other glitches in the timeline? We want to hear from you.